Hello, Aliyu here, and today we want to keep on building on where we left off last time. And in this video, specifically, we are going to talk about interaction in page using JavaScript. And as before, we have already shown how we can declare variable, manipulate variable based on functions, and manipulate them based on value. And in the end of the video, we are going to create a page that is going to take an input from a user, use JavaScript to manipulate what user has typed and give feedback to the user. So for that, we need to create yet additional page inside our project structure. And as you can see, we have this folder, which is pages. So we are just going ahead to create a new file. We call it, for example, for our purpose, we need to maybe a to-do list action that a user can do. So to do, just call it to-do.html. Don't forget the extension because it is the root of file. So now let me go to the calculation page and copy all the templates for the HTML. I copy them, go to the to-do list and change whatever that we need inside this project. We need to have a separate CSS file for this and separate JavaScript file for that. So now we can just delete this calculate.js file and go to the JS folder to create our to-do.js file. So that is saying we are going to have a separate file for this separate page. So I call this file to-do, all right, to-do.js. So now we have a file for this page, and let us for now keep the default page. So when we go to the new page, which is to do, we can pair that up inside of the browser. So preferably we are going to have this let me test, because it is good idea to be testing your page on different browsers. So let me go to the Edge and start this page. So last time we used Chrome, and now we are going to use Edge, Microsoft Edge browser. So before it finishes loading, let me see if I can change something. New JS file. So here it is firing up. So if it has finished loading, yeah, it has finished loading. Let's don't wait for it to load anything. First, our directory into the browser and see if we have that to-do file. So that to-do file right now is empty. It is showing us empty. Let's go back to the browser. All right, to-do.html. all right, so we don't have much here. Let me create this JS file that we have created right now. So link it to the script source, which is to-do.js. it is right now here. So let me save the change. After I save the change, go to the browser again, refresh the page. So now we have the intrinsic main background that we have, and the header is already here. Now we want to have some additional item inside of our file. So let me go to form. So after the adding, we can have a form tag, which is a way for a user to start interacting with the page. For now, we don't have to give our form any name, any action that is going to follow, as we are not going to link to an external server for feedback. For example, let's now assume we want a user to enter a text. So for that, we need an input tag, which is an input of the type attribute, which is text. So we need this input to hold text, and we have an ID for it so that we can reference it inside of our DOM by saying call it user input, like so, user input. So we have an ID. Let's have a row that is 40 character. All right, row. I don't have that. Let me give it width, a width of 40 character, and a placeholder. These are all attributes that you can use to have some additional information about the input field that you are going to create. So a placeholder, we will say that enter to do list here. Enter to do. or enter to do task. For example, it is a single task. Now we have this input. After the user has finished entering all the text that he is trying to do, next we need to have a way that a user will first of all ask the browser to keep that change to the page, and also if necessary export it to the form where a server can process it. So we don't have that functionality yet. Let me add an input which is of type button. Yeah, type button. Let user know this button will have a value of a text that is going to tell him what to do. So I will say add. Alright, so these are the additions that we have. Now that our addition has finished, let me first of all make JavaScript aware of what is happening inside of our page. And you know that JavaScript is always listening for the page and do something whenever something has finished. For example, to have a very good starting point, we need to have our page finish loading. So we have a window.load as before that we know. Window.load whenever everything has finished loading. So we can call a function that is going to initialize all the not infinity, to initialize our variables and all that. So we can just forget about that parenthesis is all the same. So first of all, this init function can be defined like this. Function definition is something that is in JavaScript very good. When you say function definition is comprising of some elements, a function definition keyword, then the function name, following parentheses in case you want your function to accept some parameters to work based on them, and the body of the function. That is all about function definition. So now we have explained what is function definition. Let's see it in action. So we have this function keyword, name, parenthesis, and this curly brace, the body of the function. Now the function is empty, will not have any parameter. So to interact with our page, we need to initialize those content that are inside of our page, so that JavaScript will know what is in the DOM, that is document object model. To do that, we need to first of all start initializing the variables. Don't forget we have a button. I don't think we have ID for that button. If we don't, let's go back and add it. So we don't have an ID. Let me give an ID to the button so that we can reference to that button using JavaScript. Here we can call our button add button. For example, we have add btn. All right, for short. Now go to the JavaScript because we want to reference that, so we can say add btn. This is not to JavaScript, and what is going to give us access to the button is that document by element ID. So that much sorry, we can say document dot get element by ID, and document by ID, what is the ID for the button is add btn. Now we have access to the button. What if we want to have access to what has happened to the button? Let's say if a user click a button, then JavaScript will allow user know that this action has taken place. So that action is called an event. An event is what is happening over the element inside the browser or the window entirely. So whenever an event has happened, and the browser is always eventable, when we minimize, when we close, when we load something, all of it is an event. So only if we did not make better use of them, we don't know that they exist. So let us take care of one event, that is a click event. So an event handler function is needed to be run whenever an event is happening on the browser. So that is called an event handler. Now for our concern is click event. So we can have this click event or click handler, for example. Click handler, we call this function click handler so as we can reference it. What this function is saying, we want to have an action that is going to be enclosed inside this body of the function when this button is being clicked upon. Now let's say for the test ride we have an alert when a button get clicked, so we can print a message on an alert saying button clicked. Alright, so now we have this alert to run, but yet we don't have that action aware. We can have that action, but because we did not handle it, we cannot say that this action has taken place. Let me open up in the browser to see the change. Alright, let me again open the Edge so that we can see both browsers, how they display our page. This is an Edge browser. Yes, the Edge browser is showing our page like this. So as I'm clicking, you can see I'm clicking, there is nothing happening on the page because there is no any event as being controlled or any report of the event when it is clicked. So now go back to Chrome also. All right, in the Chrome, maybe database is trying to, the database will buckle me. All right, so the browser here, Chrome browser, paste our link, refresh the page. None of the browser can understand that action is taking place, so in our code we can take care of that. So for our button to listen to an event, it needs to get clicked on. When it is clicked on, it is going to report an event to the JavaScript, and JavaScript will assign a function called an event handler, as we discussed, and to handle the event that we want to do, for example, to run a code after a specific action. So we have this add btn object, which is referencing to the object on our browser, which is a button. Now we can call an action on it, which is an event that is going to be happening on it, which is click event. There is an on hover, there is on mouse over, there is on mouse click, on hold, and all that. There are so many things that you can do. So on drag also is an event. So for this purpose we need on click, just on click to run a code based on that. Let me, when user click, call this click handler event handler to run this alert to saying that button was clicked. So now we can save and go to the Chrome browser. When we go to the Chrome browser and we refresh, so that whenever there is any change we need to refresh, go back and make sure that we save the changes. Again, go up to the browser, click. We see now the button was clicked, is displayed because we click on the button, not by just refreshing the browser. The button, the alert is coming up. Now the half of the work has done. Our task is to make a user type something, make something to be make the input of the user displayed on the page or exported to the browser, to the server. We don't have server right now, but we want to have JavaScript decide what is going to happen. So now let's see. Go to the page, and inside of our click handler event, since whenever a button is clicked, it is what we are going to do, then we need the input to get access. We need the click handler to get access to whatever the user has typed. As before, we have a variable to reference that by saying user input, for example. That user input is going to be referenced by an ID of the input field that is present on our page. User input is going to be accessed using the same method, which is document.getElement by ID, which is as by now we are familiar with using it. Let me call it by its ID, which is user input. I think is the name, is the ID given to the to the value. Let me check so that I will not have any issue later. So where is the ID? So you can see it here, user input. So it is okay, user input. Let me copy and also go to the JS to do the JS to reflect that, so as I am now consistent. Come on. So whatever, now I end the statement. All right, var user input document.get element by id, you need to have dot, not comma. So we have access to this object. The object will also have attribute, which is a field, which is a value that the user has typed in. So now we can get access to that text which the user has typed in by assigning it onto a variable, like say user text, for example, user text. This is the value of text that the user has typed in. So if I'm doing it fast, you can pause the video, copy the step and make use of it. Now get elements, we don't have to use this get element by id because we already have the user input. So we can access it is user it is property user input dot whatever the value being typed inside of our field, that is text field value. All right, so now we have access to that. So what if after the button was clicked, we want also instead of saying button was clicked, we can say that let's us print on an alert this input the user has typed in. Then we delete that, we replace that with the user text variable. Whatever is held inside our user text variable should be printed here. So we print that on an alert, go to our Chrome, refresh, then type something. We say, for example, user says hello, and when we say add, we see user text is here. Why? Because we are referencing something that is not present. Let me change that. You see, I caught it inside quotation. When I'm referencing the variable that is known to a JavaScript, I do not have to enclose it inside a quotation mark, and also I need to type exactly the same name that is being referenced to the variable. So I save the change, refresh. Instead of showing this semantic error, I am going to say user also type hello, and we can add that we say hello. That is our next step. The purpose of this tutorial is that we want to add something that is not present already by using JavaScript, to make JavaScript create something that is not here and append it to our page. So we want to have a to-do list right now. Go back to the page. Inside of our page, we need to have a place to be adding all this input by the user. So we need another tag which is best for doing that right now, which is on ordered list. I can give it an ID and call that ID for example list. So whenever a user typed in something, we need to append that value inside of this list. As of now, it is empty. Go to the JS, then get access to the UL, but before we get access to the UL, JavaScript can create some element and place it in our DOM. Now let us create an open element which is going around in the window in the background without knowing where to go. So we can say create an element which is of name li, and we can use JavaScript inbuilt by saying document dot create elements. Where is create elements? And also the element tag name. By tag name, we are going to create it right now. So the tag name is li. Now we have this li being created imaginarily. So now we can say the var, right? Or we can even add something that is already here. So we can say the li variable now get an inner HTML that is going to be whatever the user has typed in, which is user text in our case. So with that said, we go ahead and access the variable value of our object which we want to append this child to. This is the proper word to call it, append. So we need access to the value of ul, for example, an object on the screen on the browser, and we can access it using same method as before by its element, which is get element by id. Right, no, by get element by id. I want to make the video quick. Get element by id, and that id is specified as being list as of creation of the tag. So now we have this. So since we have access to this, it will have a child appended by the JavaScript using this append, not append child method. So it is looking for a child. Now we have one for him. Now we can append that child, which is an li object with an inner HTML of whatever the user has typed in, and then get rid of this all of it. Now save the page. We need to have some CSS for that ul. So since it is now part of our page, let me give a ul some styling. So if we want to have a styling, we can say that let's just give us a border for that. Radius of the border should be in pixel, which we are going to specify just 4 pixel, and then we need to separate it from the page as we can see it more clearly by saying let's assume we need a background color. A background color should be a little bit lighter than the background of our page. Take this Alice blue and save. Go back to the page in the Chrome, refresh the page. Whenever user has typed something, for example he wants shopping, and we add that, you see shopping is popping up. Delete that. When he want to go to, for example, music, right? So that also being added. As you can see, we are carrying along everything. But what if user has come here and just take out? So JavaScript can come to the rescue right now, because if we are sending this to the server, there will be an issue when it gets to the back end and the database has no access to this blank data. So we can check and control that in our code since before the user has even go along. So that is the power of JavaScript. It can do something called condition. A conditional statement is a statement that is using an expression to do something based on the outcome of the expression. What expression are we going to write now? The equality expression. For example, the user text should not be empty. So since user text is going to be compared to something which is equals to, for example, none. Whenever a user has typed in an empty string, let this JavaScript tell him that using an alert, tell him input is needed. So let him please enter something. You can even track if user has entered a numerical value. That will even be taken care of by the CSS when you are preparing your page. So we can say save right now, and else if the value of the user text does contain something, we can say that go ahead and do this bunch of code. So this is also a very good way to control your code. So I can come here and say when user has typed some empty character, supply him with an alert saying please enter something, and whenever the user has supplied something that is valid, which is containing some character, then go ahead and append that to our newly created task. Let me refresh and test that. Let's assume that the user is trying to add something. You see, please enter something. JavaScript has already called the attention of the user that it is requiring something. So when we want to test the condition, if it is true, we can say, you see, now JavaScript allowed that. So I think we are going to wrap up from this time, so that there will be some more JavaScript tutorial by God grace. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do, because I want to get encouraged to be coming up with so many great videos. Thank you for watching.